The Department of Homeland Security and Customs and Border Protection released new numbers Wednesday regarding the number of migrant apprehensions at the southern border. Officials said that in the month of June, 94,000 migrants were apprehended. That is down from the previous month when there were 132,000 apprehensions. But it is a massive increase from June 2018 when more than 34,000 migrants were arrested. The new numbers come as congressional lawmakers held a hearing to discuss conditions at immigration detention centers. They heard from Yasmin Juarez, a Guatemalan immigrant who filed a wrongful death lawsuit against the U.S. after her 19-month-old daughter died shortly after being released from a detention facility in Texas. Here's some of what she said through a translator.
En los centros de detenciones, como
ICE detention centers are terrible, inadequate places to lock children up, I'm sorry to say, as if they were animals.
Es muy duro decirlo.
It is difficult to have to say that, but I repeat that I'm here because I want to make a difference, to help more children in the name and in the memory of Marie. This country is for Americans. Trump is my president, and we can take your little girl away from you and lock you in jail. And I just started to cry because I really didn't have any words to respond to that in that situation. To me, that is mistreatment.
Let's bring in Camilo Montoya-Galvez and Astrid Galván. Camilo is a politics reporter for CBSNews.com. He's in Washington. And Astrid is a border and immigration correspondent for the Associated Press. Her latest reporting details the issues faced by teen mothers and pregnant girls being held in border detention facilities. Welcome to both of you. Camilo, I'm going to start with you. What steps are lawmakers demanding officials take following today's painful hearing?
Right, so we saw that today this young Guatemalan mother, Yasmin Juarez, recounted the deaths of her one-year-old daughter after they were both released from ICE custody in the spring of last year. And she offered this really scathing rebuke of conditions in migrant detention centers and brought some lawmakers to tears with their really heart-wrenching testimony. We saw Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez at one point place her hand on her face and just began to cry, really. And so this hearing in the press conference before it was really emotional. And in both instances, lawmakers highlighted the need, Democratic lawmakers highlighted the need that even though they approve funding for agencies that are dealing with this crisis at the border, they want to make sure that the administration is making a sincere effort to improve conditions in these facilities that are used to detain migrants. In other words, they don't want this money to go to waste.
Right. And Camilo, as you mentioned, the mother testifying shared her story of what happened after she crossed the border with her infant daughter. She says she came from Guatemala to claim asylum in the U.S., and her daughter became ill once they were in ICE custody. Let's listen to more of what she said.
My Marie died on what is Mother's Day in my country. When I walked out of the hospital that day, all I had with me was a piece of paper with Marie's handprints in pink paint that the staff had created for me. It was the only thing that I had left, and the nurses had given it to me as a Mother's Day gift.
Very painful to listen to that. Astrid, we mentioned your reporting on conditions facing teen moms and pregnant mothers at migrant detention facilities, which is something we hadn't really heard a lot about. What more can you tell us about the particular conditions they face?
Yeah, well, the situation is that many of them are considered unaccompanied minors. So they come here either without a parent or they come here with a non-parental relative and they get separated from that, like an uncle, a brother, or whatever. And what we've been hearing and reading from people who are talking to these kids often is that they are they feel like they're mistreated. They don't feel like they have enough food. Their children, most often their babies or infants, sometimes toddlers, are super, super cold. They're hungry. The girls, sometimes if they're breastfeeding, they don't get enough food or water, and so they have a low milk supply. Just kind of all sorts of issues. And a lot of them have expressed fear of complaining about this because they don't want to be, they don't want to experience retribution.
So, Astrid, you also wrote about how Customs and Border Protection is just not equipped to handle the number of families and unaccompanied children coming to the border. What more can you tell us about that? And what, if anything, do you know is now being done to address it, especially in light of the fact that there should be all these congressional funds flooding to these border facilities?
Right. I mean, these facilities that people are held in were built decades ago, and they were built for the type of immigrant who was coming to the United States then, which is single adult men. And so they're just facilities that are not designed to keep children or underage people. And obviously, agents are trained to be law enforcement officers, not to be caregivers. So when you combine that with HHS, which is the agency that's in charge of picking up minors and taking them to contracted shelters, they were not picking up kids either. And so it kind of created this kind of storm of kids being in facilities that are not built for them, with no caregivers and not being picked up on time. Since then, and actually just today, CBP said that there only remain 200 unaccompanied minors in its custody compared to up to 2,700 that they had last month. So they say that's because HHS has gotten more funding and has come in and taken most of the kids into those contracted shelters.
Astrid Galván, Camilo, Montoya-Galvez, thank you to both of you for being with us today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tanya.